These videos are intended to be a supplement to the assembly manual provided with your product. Please be sure to read your assembly manual thoroughly before beginning assembly, as it contains important safety warning and assembly tips. Before beginning assembly, please open all boxes and confirm that all parts necessary for assembly are present. The following tools will be needed to complete assembly but are not included with the product. Number 2 short Phillips head screwdriver, 13mm 1/2-inch wrench, scissors or box cutter. Step 1. After removing the treadles from the box, cut the shipping strap. Step 2. Then carefully place the support block below the treadles. This is necessary for Step 4. Step 3. Next, carefully inspect the one-way bearings near the rear of the treadles. If they are not facing the correct direction, or if either of the one-way bearings are forward, they must be adjusted. From the front of the machine, grasp each treadle by the walking belt and lift. While fully lifting each treadle, roll each of the walking belts toward the back of the machine. Continue this operation until both of the one-way bearings are to the back and in the operation zone. It may help to have another person watching the bearings to assure proper alignment. Now, lower the treadles onto the treadle support block. The walking belts can abruptly move. To avoid possible serious injury, keep hands away from the edges of the walking belts. Be aware that the drive chain and the walking belts are connected, and when either of these parts move, the other does as well. In order to avoid possible serious injury, do not allow anything to be caught or pinched by the drive chain when the walking belts are moved. Failure to properly inspect and adjust the one-way bearings may result in incorrect function of the TreadClimber. Step 4. The next step is connecting the dependency linkage to the treadle assembly. It's very important to make sure that all of the hardware for this step goes in the proper sequence. Be aware that the bearing tube may already be installed. Begin by hand tightening the hardware as much as possible. Then, using a 5mm Allen wrench and a 13mm or adjustable wrench, fully tighten the hardware. Note, the walking belts may need to be slightly adjusted to align the bolt holes. Remove the treadle support block after tightening hardware. Step 5. For the next step, we will need to run the speed sensor cable through the right upright. To do this, attach the speed sensor cable to the bottom of the wire that has been pre-strung through the upright. Then, carefully pull the wire with the speed sensor cable attached all the way through the upright. Step 6. Now we will attach both uprights to the treadle assembly. Be very careful to not crimp or crush the cable in the right upright. Begin by loosely hand tightening the hardware to ensure that all hardware lines up with its corresponding hole. Do not fully tighten the hardware until the completion of Step 8. Step 7. After routing the speed sensor cable through the upright, insert the terminal end into the back of the console. Then proceed to run the cable through the channel in the back of the console to hide the cable. Then, after installing the junction covers on each side of the console assembly, insert the assembly into the uprights. Be careful not to crimp or crush the speed sensor cable. Step 8. Now install the hardware at the top of the uprights to secure the console. Hand tighten first to make sure all of the hardware can be properly seated. Then, once everything is lined up, fully tighten the hardware at both the top and the bottom of the uprights using the Allen wrench. Step 9. Next, slide the flywheel onto the rear roller. Be sure that the magnetic sensor on the flywheel is facing towards the roller. Tighten the hardware to secure the flywheel. It may be necessary to hold the walking belt steady to completely tighten the hardware. Step 10. To install the side covers, completely lower a treadle by safely pushing the walking belt with your foot toward the back of the machine. With the treadle lowered, tilt the front of the side cover downward. Then, bring the back of the side cover up and over to the walking deck and gently push it into position. Do not fully tighten hardware until Step 12. Repeat this procedure on the other side. Step 11. Now use 4 self-tapping screws to attach the rear cover to the treadle assembly. Do not fully tighten the hardware until Step 12. Step 12. For this step, you will need a short number 2 Phillips head screwdriver. You may need to lift the treadle to maximum height to have room. Use 4 self-tapping screws to attach the front cover to the treadle assembly. Now, go back and make sure that all the hardware from steps 10 through 12 are fully tightened. Step 13. Install 2 AA batteries into the bottom of the console. Step 14. Finally, carefully inspect your machine to ensure that all fasteners are tight and components are properly assembled. Level the machine using the leveling feet if necessary. Do not use until the machine has been fully assembled and inspected for correct performance in accordance with the owner's manual.